What's the haps? I'm Meroka and welcome to Paper Brexit. This is a game about current affairs. Perhaps you could tell. Yeah, this is by Greg Buchanan, and it is, surprisingly enough, about Brexit and indeed, to a certain extent, Donald Trump. It is a game in which Donald Trump is in power, and also so is a far right-wing British government, having left the European Union. Weirdly topical at this point in time. This game was actually made before Brexit, but now it is mildly prophetic, I believe. And now let's all go be terrified by the consequences of what is about to happen. Yeah. Interesting, there's a lot of stuff about Inkle, so I don't know if this is sort of inspired by Inkle stuff. It's a very text-based thing. Inkle's very text-based narrative stuff, and they do some good stuff, so that's okay. I'm on board with Inkle-like things. Let's find out. Let us find out what happens if we leave the European Union. I mean, maybe we should have pressed this button a few days ago, because it's already happened. We have left. We have indeed. Paper Brexit. Ah, patriotism. This game of mine, it's crude, divisive, and mean. The facts within it, they're poorly researched fragments, and in some cases outright fabrications. She had leant forward at this point to pick up her port. And if I've gotten things wrong, who cares? The British public certainly won't. Something an imaginary politician didn't say to you a few months before the British public voted to leave the EU 58-42. Well, not quite to that degree, but hey. If they'd said something like that to you, drinking in the shadows of Parliament without so much as an off-the-record, and you hadn't reported it, you wouldn't be a very ethical journalist. You would be the kind of person who did what they had to do. You'd be the kind of person who would sell their soul. You would be the kind of person who would sell their soul. You would be the kind of person who would sell their soul. You're going to shadow me, Doris Thompson had said to you, and she'd meant it. She'd gone from being an affable TV panellist to Prime Minister in the span of time it took Boris Johnson, Doris Thompson, obviously, yeah. She'd gone from being an affable TV panellist to Prime Minister in the same span of time it took you to fail at everything you've ever tried. The buffoon who bought the position of Prime Minister with the soul of Britain, assassinating the career of her predecessor in the process. Oh god, that's terrifyingly accurate. Yes. Yeah, gone from being an affable TV panellist with what appears to be quite a degree of likelihood that he's going to be Prime Minister. Oh dear. One of your friends is going to have to leave the country. You haven't returned his messages. You pack your bag for work and try to forget about it. After all, the Prime Minister trusts you, likes what you write. There's even talk of you quitting your newspaper job and coming to work for her directly. You can't think about that now, though. Big things are afoot. President Drumpf is to visit the newly independent United Kingdom in a few weeks, and a few choices remain about how the UK will handle going it alone. You catch the tube to Westminster. You arrive at the cafe, but your editor isn't there yet. The woman behind the counter looks at you, her expression tired. This does play out a lot. I wonder if this is, I mean, it mentions Inkle. I wonder if this whole thing was made in Inkle's, is it Ink or is it Inkwriter? I'm not sure what they call it. It's either Ink or Inkwriter, which is the engine they use for making all their games, and they made available for general use a couple of months back. Because this whole thing plays out very, very similar to an Inkle game, and I like that. I like that. Just the page scrolling up, and then just click on the option you want as text, and it just adds it to the pages that scroll up. Which is, yeah, I like that. I dig that. It's a cool format, and I've been wondering what people would make out of that engine, so if this was made out of it, cool, it seems like an interesting first thing for me to find that has been made in ink. Cool. Now you arrive at the cafe, but your editor isn't there yet. The woman behind the counter looks at you, her expression tired. Coffee. Coffee, please. Without a word, she busies herself, readying the incredibly complex-looking coffee machine to produce a small cup of something you're unlikely to drink much of. You pay, you sit down with your drink, you look up at the television on the wall. Drumpf is speaking a little soundbite on the BBC. I love the UK, I love it, there's great people there, wonderful people, a lot of investment I put into it, a lot. And they had the right idea, they closed the borders. Easier for them than me, they're an island, Kathy. And Drumpf grins, I'm gonna have to build an actual wall. You wait for your editor to arrive. In your dreams, you sometimes feel like you're back at school. Your wife has somehow cheated on you with a teacher who used to bully you, and who told you didn't deserve the marks you got, and that you're naked. You sometimes feel so ordinary in your fears without originality. Sometimes you're more afraid of people of other races than your own, even if they're not doing anything wrong. Just standing there. Sometimes you quicken your pace. You wonder if anyone ever noticed. Your editor finally arrives. He's around half an hour late after he was supposed to. He's sweating. He's always sweating. Woo, come back. It often subsides when you sit down for a bit. Having so much fat permanently hugging your vital organs is prone to heat up a man, but you find him unpleasant to sit with. He's kind, though, a rare quality in people you meet. The usual apologies flow back and forth, and then you get down to business. So today I wanted you to go through a few things from your article. He smiles at you with this faint, concerned expression. You don't know if it's pity you see, or if he's patronizing you, just to check the facts, figure out the tone, etc. Are you suggesting I have the facts wrong? Is there a problem with the tone? Or just fire away. Have I got the facts wrong? Are you suggesting I've gotten the facts wrong? Elise is one of many falsely imprisoned laughs from his gut, grown hollow and delinquent with misuse. Not at all, not at all. He sips his lemonade. The Daily Bar graph has the utmost confidence in you and your work. It will just help me with my job, to have a sense of what happened, from your mouth directly, you know. You know our readers love this sort of thing. Behind the scenes, Brexiters... Wait, come back. Keeps going ahead of it. Behind the scenes, Brexiters fight the system and win, etc, etc. I just want to help you bring out the strengths in this piece. I want to make it the best story we can. He pauses, but you say nothing. He starts fumbling with his bag to remove his papers, full of red ink and circles in inscrutable handwriting. You stopped using paper a couple of years ago. As he looks through his papers, he takes off his glasses from his sweaty face and holds them in one hand like a writer might hold a cigarette. You sometimes wonder if your editor is a homosexual. You wonder if a lot of people are homosexuals. You have friends who are homosexuals. You just like to know where you stand with people so they don't surprise you. It's perfectly normal to worry about it. This is kind of weird. I love you! What? Why is that an option? Why can I say that? And what happens if you do say that? So how have things been? He looks up from his paper, surprised. I'm fine, he smiles genuinely. I'm good, thank you, really good. Thank you for asking. How are you? Let's get topical. My friend, he's been messaging me about how he has to leave the UK. Oh yes, I think you told me about that. Sympathy, friendship even, with someone like that. Someone who believes what they believe. He stares at you and eventually smiles faintly. You're full of surprises. He pauses and you don't reply. Anyway, let's get this stuff over with then. He puts his glasses back on and picks up a sheet of paper with a very large amount of red ink. So, he says, talk me through the day of the vote. What you saw, what you thought. Things had gotten terrifying. It was a triumph? Pretty terrifying. Things had gotten terrifying. You stare at your empty cup. My ears press to you. Why were things terrifying? I wanted to leave the EU, but both sides were telling... But the lies both sides were telling, the shootings, everything that was happening. Probably more yeah, that one. It's probably more the terrifying things. People getting scary. Shootings, everything that was happening with IS. It stares at you. But you've often had violent thoughts, haven't you? I don't have violent thoughts. There are people that want us dead. There's a pauses thinking and looks back down his papers, writing something down. What are you writing? He coughs and put his pen down. Okay, there it says. Tell me about what happened after, with Prime Minister Blamaroon. I think he was on a pig farm. He was on a pig farm, that's hilarious. There's no such person called Blamaroon, what are you talking about? I kind of have to go with the first one because the pig thing is still hilarious to me, and I do wish people hadn't let that go as soon as they had, because that's goddamn hilarious. He should have been mocked mercilessly for that one for months on end, and everyone had forgotten about the Piggate within about 2 days, which was disappointing. So he was on a pig farm at the time of the announcement. The editor laughs. No, he says, enough of that. Come on, tell me what happened. There was a vote of no confidence. No, there is a vote of no confidence, but it wasn't for Blamaroon. He resigned, he was pushed out. Officially he resigned. he also was kind of pushed out. I mean, I kind of appreciate the way he did the resignation insofar as he's just like, you know what, you made this mess, you fix this mess, now I don't want to have to fix this mess. It's like, credit to you, you know what, I can't say I wouldn't have done the same thing. He was totally pushed out though. He was pushed out. And then Doris Thompson, you're right, sips his drink. Your old friend, I think you said. I never told you that. Everyone knows, don't worry. He grabs another piece of paper. So what happened to their Brexit promises? What happened to the NHS? They put 350 million into it, or we became the envy of the world. I don't think either of those are true, or can be true, or will be true. There isn't 350 million to put into it, and I'm pretty certain nobody envies us. I can't click on either of those. Those are both bad answers. We became the envy of the world. Fine. We became the envy of the world, but we didn't. You don't want to say it. Woof. But you have to. But we have to toe the line. My son died as an understaffed... Oh, whoa! Hang on, I didn't click on that. Oh, what? You don't get a choice on that one. You don't want to say it. My son died at an understaffed hospital. Okay, oh, you have to say it. I kind of get that. Okay, you can either say it or you have to say it. My son died at an understaffed hospital. Your editor... No, Harry. His name is Harry. He has a name. Harry looks at you and asks if you're okay. No, I don't think I'm okay. Harry asks where you think you are. I don't know. Britain, a cafe. Britain, I guess. Britain. Harry nods but seems impatient. But where specifically? A cafe? Harry stares at you. You feel your life was supposed to be a comedy. The world seems so utterly... The whole thing, everything that's happening, you can't trust yourself. Something is very wrong. What's wrong, he asks you. I didn't think the UK was like this, that we were like this. I didn't. Harry laughs. Like what? Racist, ignorant, cruel. Those are all very generalizations, but they definitely apply to significant enough parts of the population that the decision that came out could indeed be blamed at the hands of any of those groups, I would have said. Ignorant. His face darkens. What was ignorant about it? The UK people didn't want to be ruled by French and Germans. They wanted to rule themselves, and to be themselves without the infection of strangers. And after all, there were legitimate concerns over migrants. Even Labour said so. He pauses. So we exit the EU. We head out. What happens to all the foreigners who've been living here for years? The Vote Leave campaign said they had nothing to worry about. But the Vote Leave campaign wasn't a government. The editor stares at you. It's madness to think they could possibly make any promises about what would or would not happen. No one was voting for them to take power. But they did. Thompson did. Yes, he said. Tell me about Doris Thompson. She's a member of the Cowington Club at Oxford. She seemed harmless, funny, but she had these ridiculous haircuts. Yeah, she seemed... That's the one everybody likes. Oh, he's harmless, funny, yeah. She seemed harmless, funny even. Like a friend Drumpf. Harry smiles. You knew her when she was young, didn't you? You both went to Oxford around the same time. What was she like back then? Probably that, I suspect. Sharp, calculating. I thought she'd go places. I know she's in number 10 with you as her go-to journalist. I'm surprised how the editor finishes his drink. I'm surprised she hasn't offered you a job. Well, you well offer me more money, I might stay. I'll never leave the bar graph. You're like family. Say nothing, I think. You say nothing. I'll take your silence as a yes. Harry, sure, I'll stay at your... I'll take your silence as a, yes, Harry, sure, I'll stay at your paper, sure, I know I owe you my career, you've been great to me. Yeah, it's true, you've been like family to me. As you say the word family, you feel a little sick. The editor is pleased in any case. Good to hear. Very, very good to hear. There's the cafe television again. Strange how background noise often crystallizes into focus, reminding you of things you forgot were there, of sounds you'd assumed to be a general state of existence. The same clip from earlier, a lazy repeat from the BBC. Drumpf is speaking. I love the UK. I love it. There's great people there, wonderful people. A lot of investment I put into it. A lot. I think it would be great if they left the EU, close up those borders. That's not quite the same clip as before, but it's a very similar one. Or is it the same clip? I don't know. Easier for them than me. They're an island, Kathy. I'm gonna have to build an actual wall if I get elected. What are we gonna do? We're gonna make Mexico pay for it. You look around. Apart from your editor on the television, the cafe is utterly empty. It's night time. The world is sick and hollow. The man in front of you is one of many. It's a bacterium, a virus. It's not just found on one side or the other, but in everyone and everything. It's the madness of humanity. Who are you? I'm your editor, Harry says, his expression strangely blank. Strangely blank. And who am I? You're a writer, a typist. This is all a lie. But you know better than anyone about how it's all a lie, he says to you. What do you think you've been telling the public this whole time? I sell a point of view. Comes down to a question, I suppose. What do you think the purpose of a politician is? Either or. Both to represent and serve the people. Whether that happens is very much a matter for debate. To serve the people. What if people don't know what's best for them? What if they're confused, scared, afraid? You decide for them. But then he says, we live in a democracy, and if enough people believe that EU is a monstrous organisation and the UK is being swarmed with illegal immigrants, well, there will be people who will take advantage of that. And what do you say then? If your own party's at war with itself, you might feel you have to give them a choice. And what do you do then if you know Brexit is a bad idea? And what do you do then if you know Brexit is a bad idea, but you feel you can personally profit? I sell my soul. I write news stories backing it. Exactly, and it sells papers. People want to hear it. Who gives a fuck about the world? You've got a great job and everything's going great. But my son... Yes, your son. Tell me about your son. He was beaten up. My wife, she... What? He just stares at you. I want to talk about something else. He just stares at you. And I don't see what this has to do with anything. Please, just go. It was during spring. He says nothing. Ooh, music stopped. Did we just run out of music, or was that a dramatic stop? Not sure. My son, he was always outspoken, unafraid. I was very proud of him. There were some kids at school. They didn't like him. I hit him. What? He wasn't like them. He wasn't like me. He was different. He told me something. I don't think it had anything to do with me. It had everything to do with me. I must have raised him wrong. I didn't mean it. I've been drinking. This is taking a weird and dark turn. It was just a little fight, but he hit his head. My wife, she left me. She left and I was all alone. We had no money. Do you know what that's like? I should have had more money. It was easy to blame, to hate, to separate. Things have been tough, you know. The hospital, they couldn't do anything. She lied about what happened, for me, for us. Things have been tough. I didn't even go with them to the hospital. I couldn't. I was 2. When I woke up, I didn't even check my phone. I just started writing my story. I had a deadline. Your editor looks at you for a long time, and even outside in the middle of Westminster, no one moves. The world is one of statues of silent actors and still dancers. gathers his papers, writes a few more things down in his note sheet, and then speaks. You have a choice, he says. But you already know you have a choice. You've had it ready for a long time. Considered all the arguments, analysed the world, even written this long document, staying awake all night on your old typewriter. She bought it for your son as a present. He liked things like this. Old things. The history of a country recaptured. An England of pubs and happy farmers and a world without pain. Or this real world, a world of complexity and fear and hope. You know you have a choice. You exit, or you remain. Am I exiting the cafe or the country? I mean, or the EU, or what am I exiting here? I want to see what happens if I press that. You exit. It feels cold in your shaking hand. You felt cold every day, every night. And you do it. You end it. Well, there's nothing after the exit. Only darkness. Only an end to all that you were. Oh, I think we were exiting life. Huh. I didn't realize that was the option. Christ. The end. Well, that was dark as hell. I don't know what I expected. There we go. The end. I'm actually quite certain this was made in ink or Inklewriter or whatever they're calling it. That was a thing about, I guess, people's viewpoints, which I guess kind of makes it easier to put a perspective on why some people voted to leave. In case you couldn't tell, I voted Remain. I'm not massive on putting my politics out there, certainly not on the channel. If you follow me on Twitter, maybe a little bit more so, but yeah. I can see why people voted the way they did, but I think a lot of people voted for the wrong reasons, and certainly the sheer amount of stories that have come out in the past 2 days about people who voted for the wrong reasons and then immediately regretted it makes me wonder if the result was actually the result that people actually wanted. It's the result people voted for, but was it the result that people wanted? It seems like a lot of people who voted to exit didn't actually want to exit per se, but they voted the way they did for a whole host of reasons, but not necessarily because they actually wanted to exit. Alright, food for thought there. That is Paper Brexit. There will be a link to this down below. It is a free download. You can download this and play this in case you want to pick some other choices, see some other routes, see some politics. At any rate, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Meroka. This has been Paper Brexit. I will see you next time.